Hey everybody, welcome to episode 25 of Around the Verse. I am Sandy Gardner.
And I'm Ben Lesnick.
Gladiator is in the hangar.
That's right. We had a patch last week that made a couple of fixes to Arena Commander and also added the now hangar-ready Gladiator. If you already had a Gladiator, you can log in and explore it. If you'd like to pick one up, they're available in the store this week.
And ship stats. We fixed them.
We fixed some of them. Ship stats are ever-changing, though, so you will always have something to argue about.
Fabulous. $5 Tiny Tea sale is still going.
Did you get one?
I already have one, actually. I have the Anvil Hornet one.
But yeah, extra small shirts are $5. We're selling off some of the old stock to get ready for new stuff that you'll be seeing soon.
Saved a Wing Commander prop. What does that mean?
Well, we had an interesting experience on Monday this week. I got a Facebook notification that someone had this big prop wall from Wing Commander 4, the game Chris directed back in the day, at their house in Austin. And they were saying, oh, well, I'm throwing this out by 5 if nobody claims it. And I was all bummed out because, of course, I'm not in Austin anymore. And it's basically this huge part of a spaceship. It's about this size. So I actually called up a Star Citizen backer I knew in town with a pickup truck. He picked it up from the old developer, brought it out to the office in Austin, and we now have a huge Wing Commander prop in reception. Now check it out.
Live stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. LA time.
Gonna be a great time. We've got a lot to show off. You're gonna meet teams from around the world. We're gonna have some dogfights, maybe some new videos to share. We just want to send you off to the holidays in good spirits and hearing the latest from Star Citizen.
Yep, and I am gonna get my practice on all day today because I'm going to beat you.
We'll see about that one.
Now it's time for news from Around the Verse.
Let's do this module by module, kicking off with Arena Commander.
Team is pushing for the next milestone, Arena Commander 1.0.
Arena Commander 1.0 is our next big patch. There's been a lot of speculation that we're trying to get this out for the live stream tomorrow. We would absolutely love to do that, but if it's not ready, we won't release, and you'll hear why. The team is working very hard, though, and we're going to have some cool stuff to show regardless.
Blood splattering inside the helmet is being worked on.
It's interesting. One of the biggest issues I see with Star Citizen, kind of on the internal dev tracking mailing list, is stuff with the RSI helmet. And as we add more and more functionality to the game, we run into more and more trouble with how it interacts with the world. So now you can be injured and blood can come out and it'll get in front of your face. And of course, that's more trouble to deal with from a helmet's perspective.
All right. The new missile and signature system have been completed.
You're going to hear more about this later in the week. We're working up a cool design post about ship systems. They're going to talk about especially how we do the various stealth systems that are included in the Hornet Tracker and Ghost, and basically how subsystems like that work in Star Citizen. So check that out later in the week.
Cinematic spectator mode for both gun and pilot cameras has almost been fully implemented.
So one thing we really want here internally is to be able to watch cool dogfights rather than just looking over the pilot's shoulder. So we've created these new camera options. And we're dedicated to being the first-person universe, but we also want some cool cinematics to show things off. So that's going into the next big build, the cinematics camera.
Squadron 42 AI Defense Command is being worked on.
That's how the AI responds to being attacked. It's the guys at Moon Collider who are putting that together.
And the proof of concept conversation system is ongoing.
They're at a prototype phase now where you can actually interact with other characters and see how they have different ways for them to respond to you.
Persistent Universe. Work has continued on the medic.
So there'll be both NPC and player medics who will try to help you recover when you've been shot or otherwise injured. It's a career path for players, and it's something we want people to be able to do in the Star Citizen universe.
Asteroid modeling and texturing has continued R&D.
You guys have seen our asteroids since the very initial trailer. We did some actually cool asteroid work before we were even a real game. But we want to continue, especially as we move into the mining mechanic, having more and more impressive space rocks.
ArcCorp bartender concept has been revised.
If you follow Sandy's Facebook, I think you saw some of the internal art discussion about the bartender. The artists in Austin were creating all of them with cargo pants, and Chris wanted some additional fashion in the Star Citizen universe.
And we got a very quick reply from Mark Skelton saying, yeah.
Hey, when Chris says lose the cargo pants, you lose the cargo pants.
Ships. Cutlass thrusters have been cleaned up so it can fly properly.
We are aiming to have the Cutlass Black seat fixed in Arena Commander 1.0, as well as the Avenger.
Speaking of Avenger, Avenger's damage states are being completed.
And one thing you're going to find about the Avenger and the Cutlass Black in Arena Commander is that they're going to be very basic initially. We want to get the pilots of these ships able to interact with their flight model flattened around, but we'll say right here that both the Avenger and the Cutlass are going through a rescripting phase in the UK to enhance their modularity.
Finally, Alpha and Gamma Mustangs are almost finished.
And those are the last two Mustangs to be finished. They should all be flyable with the next patch.
FPS module. Animations while using mag boots have received improvements.
So you'll be able to fly around in zero gravity, you'll be able to walk around in regular gravity, and if you have the proper boots, you'll be able to walk around with some resistance in zero gravity.
The helmet has received a light attachment.
There's that helmet again, but we want to get away from that Doom scenario where you can have either a gun or a flashlight, so you can have both a flashlight and a gun.
Multiple laser rifle components, including the tracer, trail, and muzzle flash, have received visual effects improvements.
One thing I've been really impressed with from the guys at Delphonic is seeing the weapons come together. It's gone from this very simple concept of, oh, here's a rifle, it shoots the smaller version of the weapon the ships use, to, oh, here's a rifle, here's how it works, here are the individual components you can swap out. It's really impressive, and we look forward to sharing more of that with you as we get close to the FPS launch.
Now we're going to go next door to get an update on the people crunching around the office.
Hi, I'm Darian.
And I'm Travis.
And we're two of the producers at Cloud Imperium Games in Santa Monica, California.
Woo!
So we're here today to talk about crunch time for 1.0 and what exactly goes into that. So why don't you start, Travis?
Oh, nice handoff. Well done.
Yeah.
So crunch time is a time in every young boy's life when, crunch time is something that happens before pretty much any release in software development. I've heard a lot of different debates on philosophy about it, but essentially when you come to that last 20%, last 10% for a release, and it's time to finish up everything that you have kind of left on the operating table, generally you get into a mode where, and currently as we have people around the world at all of our different studios who are dedicating extra time, working a little bit on the weekends and working a little bit after hours, standard business hours, to finish up all of their tasks and help out with each other's tasks to make sure everything gets done to a state that everybody's really happy with for 1.0. That's kind of the short answer.
It also comes to a point where we're finally starting to nail down what polishes and what features we're going to actually prove to put into the game. Cut any issues that may not be deemed as too high priority or something that we can push back to a later patch date. So this is where we're kind of making that 11th hour judgment on what's going to make it into this actual release for 1.0.
Yeah.
So as producers, we're trying to be the headsman with the axe to try to see what we can cut and what can we keep in.
Yeah, features, not people. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do we do crunch? Nothing like a little bit of Captain Crunch during crunch time.
Man, satisfying.
The reason why we have a crunch time is because just imagine if you're in school and you've been studying all semester long and you got your test on the last day of this semester, you still do study on that last day to try to cram everything, make sure you've got everything down, make sure you did remember all of your homework and lessons and lectures throughout the year. So similarly here, we want to make sure that we're putting a final polish on everything, making sure nothing's falling through the cracks, we're getting all the little attention to details, making sure that it is going to be a quality product that we're shipping out.
Spoken like somebody who didn't drop out of college. Well done. It's a good metaphor. So, yeah, no, I mean, that's basically the gist of it, right? You work, you have all your outline features and objectives, everything that you're working towards as a team. And as you get towards the end, as we mentioned before, you start to triage things, you start to scope things. But there is that last little bit, the core feature set that you want to make sure is as intended. From the time that we conceived of these features that we were adding months and months ago, we want to make sure that at the end it's meeting with our expectations, it's meeting with Chris's expectations, and we think everybody's really going to love it. And so that's where you start to put in all the little extra time. And that's where the passion comes out too, because you've spent 4 months conceiving something and thinking it's going to be cool and bringing it to fruition. And then you get to the end, and that's really when it's the most fun. So there's 2 different primary kinds of people that you deal with on Crunch, right? There's the people that are super, super duper passionate, and they just want to see any little thing that they worked on be as amazing as it can possibly be. And so they end up maybe working too many hours and pushing themselves too hard without realizing it. And it's kind of part of our job is to watch for that and try to manage people's time and well-being. And so, we had a case the other day with a guy who had been here way too long and basically just, hey, come talk to me for a second. No big deal, shut the door. And it's like, hey, so tonight at 6, you need to go home or else I'm gonna take your computer and throw it out the window. Okay? Yeah, okay, cool. Next day comes back into work, no more bags under the eyes, looks great. I'm like, hey, you feeling okay? Yeah, that was great. Yeah, so that's kind of, you gotta watch out for people to take care of themselves, help take care of them, because yes, we want to make a great product and we want it to be as awesome as it can be, obviously. I mean, that's what we're here for. But it is at the end of the day, it is a game, and people's well-being and people's ability to perform over the long haul of the development of this project is much more important than, staying those extra hours.
And you didn't throw my computer out the window.
That's true, yeah.
But I still have bags under my eyes.
These are crunchy.
And this is really cheesy.
Well played.
Not only is it important for our developers to stay on task, but also maintaining their mental sanity is paramount to making sure that we're keeping an eye on the overall picture of the game. With 1.0 being such an important release for us and for you, we don't want to burn or have anybody burn out from working way too hard, way too many hours when we've got a very large picture to keep into perspective.
Yeah, you got to keep the big picture in mind, definitely.
Yeah. Would you like more cheese? So as far as how progress is coming along with the 1.0 patch, we've been fairly busy across the globe. We've got our ship guys working on really cool damage states and special effects for the ships. Forrest and our other VFX guys have been working on these really, really cool explosions and special effects that happen when the ship parts blow up, and watch them kind of work on it. It's pretty crazy, pretty impressive, and I think you guys would be really, really happy with it. So how do you think 1.0 is coming along?
Yeah, no, we're making a lot of good progress. I think one of the things that we forget as we get so focused on 1.0 and we get so focused on the release date and the milestone, you get very, very into this one little detailed feature. How is the helmet sitting on the guy's head? Are you getting too much jittering when the HUD's on the visor? But
is there too much reflectivity on the glass?
Yeah, exactly. No, all this kind of like little minutia that we're dealing with. That when you really take a big step back and you look at it and you go, oh my God, we're adding all of these ships to the game. I mean, almost doubling, more than doubling the number of ships that are available. Adding all these entirely new features to the HUD, adding an entirely new signature system, new ways for missiles to work, new ways to do gameplay for you to hide amongst asteroids, hide from people. I mean, there's just a bevy of new features that when you think about the amount of time that we've done this on, coming out of like Gamescom in August and the 0.9 release cycle, it's really impressive. I'm really proud of our team. Our team globally has done a fantastic job on this release. So even as we're drilling down and getting all hung up on whether this damage state looks right or whether this piece of debris is blowing off at the right angle with the right explosion, I mean, you look at how far we've come and it really is impressive. So it's very important to make sure that the team, as collectively, does not lose sight of that, because it's something everybody should be proud of.
I mean, look how many missiles we designed in a single day, just because we wanted to make sure we had every signature type in the game.
Yeah, totally. No, and it comes from all sides, right? I mean, like, there's art, there's design, there's engineering, there's animation, and everybody's really been working in concert and working really well together and supporting one another in a way that's really important. I mean, it's very hard to have such a large global distributed team. It makes communication super difficult and super important, of paramount importance. But all the individuals working together has really clicked well, and I'm really proud of everybody for their accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it really hard with all different time zones when we have the global handoff between each region, making sure that the right individuals are assigned to the right tasks. And I need to know the hell did you pour in this?
1.0 fuel. So yeah, that covers what we've been up to here in the LA office. We've definitely been on a crunch schedule now for a little while. And it's important to remember that crunch, yes, it is a little bit more time spent at work and a little bit more focus on everything you're doing at work, and the pressure's a little bit higher. But game development, I think a lot of us really enjoy game development because it is fun. We work with a bunch of super creative people, super talented people, so I'm not really averse to seeing them all more. I kind of actually genuinely like them. And it is, there's a certain kind of, God, it's hard to put it. There's a certain fun exhilaration to crunch time that comes in because it means that you're almost done. It's like getting to the end of the race. It's the last lap. It's the final stretch. And it has this, everything that you do has so much more gravitas attached to it. So it's a very exciting time to be a part of the project, and it's a very exciting time to see things come together. It's when you see all the things you've worked on for so long come together and really start to pay dividends. So, managed properly and with the right attitude and the right team and the right passion, I think, it's something that is necessary, and it also really helps to put a lot of final polish on the product. And I think, in general, it's quite enjoyable.
Gravitas is such a good word.
Well, thank you.
It's also a rite of passage to a certain degree. It's a very bonding experience where everybody's all striving towards that same goal. Everybody's working for that same purpose, and so you see a high amount of energy and dedication being pushed out during this crunch period, because we all see that finish line right there. And even though we're far finished from the actual full, persistent universe, and we've got a lot of other releases ahead of us, when we reach certain milestones, you see a large amount of rallying happen. So yep. We try to keep them sane, try to keep them focused, provide them with dinner, lunch, cupcakes. So we try to keep them sane.
So we did spend some time today talking about how crunch is and how fun it can be and how it really bonds the team together. Sadly, there are casualties in any battle, and well, we know him as Mark Abent. You know him as the Bug Smasher. But yeah, sadly today he was overwhelmed by the bugs, and we just don't know what to do. So
I'm Darian Borlick.
I'm Travis Day.
So thank you for spending time with us while we explain what's been going on in the studio here. Thank you for letting us share with you what goes on with crunch time. Hopefully you will enjoy what we've got in store for you coming up with patch 1.0. So hopefully we will see you in the verse, or around the verse.
In or around
under the verse.
Ew, I like that one. Yeah.
Through the verse.
The verse. That's like Interstellar. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for working so very hard on this game. It's great to work with a group of people who have such passion for something. We wouldn't be here if we didn't love it. Now let's go over to MVP with Will.
Hey everybody, I'm lead moderator Will here to bring you this week's MVC. That's most valuable crab for all you folks out there. This week's MVC goes to Mr. Combustible for his 3D print of the Thorshoe Grey. Take a look. So thank you very much, Mr. Combustible, for this week's MVC.
Thanks, Will.
Well, I would kick it to Bug Smashers, but as I recall from the crunch piece, Mark didn't make it out alive.
So we will have somebody, however, doing Bug Smashers.
Let's check it out.
Welcome back, I guess, to the Bug Show, where we find problems and there's got to be something wrong, right? There's always.
Hey!
So, aren't you dead?
I can't die. Only the actors that play me die.
Dude, just get some sleep.
Bug Smashers!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bug Smashers. As you can see, the rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
Alright, so here we are in our glorious test level, and the designers have implemented a new awesome weapon that's supposed to have burst fire. And it does exactly that, it burst fires. Problem is, if I hold down the button, nothing happens. You have to actually let go of the button, hit the button again, then you could fire. So that's a little bug that we don't want. You should be able to hold down the button, it should do the burst, stop, burst, stop, not click, click, click. So let's hop out of the game and fix that guy. So here we are in our burst fire mode. And when you click down the button, it will actually go through this function here called burst fire. All right, and it actually has a trigger here, so when I'm holding down the button, it knows that we're holding down the button. So all we have to do is go into this little update function and be like, hey, if I'm still holding down the button, I'm no longer bursting, and I make sure that I can't burst because there is a rate of fire between bursts. So we make sure our timer goes down. We want to begin bursting again. So let's just make a new function. Call it start burst. So let's add this to the header file saying, oh, we already have a end burst. Let's add a start burst. So we will add burst fire. So now we got to figure out what we're going to put in this burst fire. Let's go to the start fire. That gets called anytime you begin shooting. It has similar logic here. If I'm not bursting and the button is not actually held down, then hold the button and start bursting if you're within the time. We'll want to do the start burst here, and we'll copy all this lovely code. And we'll put it in start burst. There it is. So this is the code to make you start shooting, and just to verify, in the update function, if I'm still holding down the button and I'm not bursting and my burst time is 0, I will begin shooting again. That's fine. And then if I just held down the button the first time, it will start the sequence. All right, let's compile and try this out. Back in our level, so let's go on the game. It should automatically seat us down. Turn on my super secret developer console command. So now, if I hold down the button, it continues to burst at a rate defined in the XMLs. So if the designer wants it to be 5 seconds between bursts, set it up in the XML. I think right now it's set really, really quick. So there you have it. Burst fire, our first burst fire vehicle weapon. Whee! So as you saw there, we have a new burst fire weapon where, if you hold down the trigger and you start bursting, it will automatically stop. We didn't want that functionality. We want you to, hold down the button, it would continue to fire. So I had to go into our burst code and make sure that when you're holding down the buttons and the burst is done and it can burst, it will continue to burst. So this is our first burst fire weapon. It works as expected, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And this is actually our last episode for this year. So I wish everyone happy Nerf years. And it's been a long, brutal war, but only you can protect yourself.
Thanks, Mark. Very impressive resurrection.
Now let's go over to our very busy CS team to see how they're doing.
Hi, welcome to customer service. My name's Chelsea.
And I'm Alexis.
As you can see, we've received quite a few gifts in the past week. We'd like to thank the following people: 4 Aces, Wolf, Anthony Roman, and Devastator Zero, Morrow, and Reverend.
We'd also like to thank Test Squadron, Sean Carroll, Titan Hoover, Tim Roy, and Phrase66.
Just a heads up, the customer service will be closed through the holidays. We'll be back in the office January 5th. If your issue is not critical, we would really appreciate you waiting to submit a ticket until that point so that we're not completely swamped when we get back.
So we just wanted to say thank you to everybody for a great year, and we look forward to spending 2015 with you.
Thanks, ladies. Our backers are really spoiling you.
Now let's go over to James, who is interviewing UI designer Brandon Evans.
Thanks, boss. I'm here with Brandon Evans. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for coming on, buddy.
No problem.
You excited?
I'm excited.
I'm excited to get some questions. About you?
Oh, yeah.
All right. You don't seem very excited. All right. First question comes in from Live by Night. Is it very complex to organize the different displays for each ship, or are systems being implemented to standardize and streamline the process?
No, actually, it's pretty straightforward. We design everything in the HUD as sort of like every little thing is its own thing called a dock item, and those dock items can be presented however we want them to be. It's really a very modular system, so it'll be easy to make them different for different ships.
Okay, so we're just saying they'll be different for each ship, but does ships
So
share
function,
them?
I mean, obviously, if you have a heat gauge, it's a heat gauge.
Yeah.
But we can make that heat gauge look like whatever we want,
Oh,
and we
cool.
can make it. We can give it additional fields on different ships and stuff like that.
Cool. Awesome. Next question comes from Flint Nefario. How does it increase the complexity of programming the UI to have multi-crew ship seats, where various UI controls are distributed and controlled across multiple screens with security access levels and in very different parts of the ship? Have you developed special tools or skills that are unique to Star Citizen to deal with these challenges?
Actually, yeah, the multi-crew thing is probably going to be one of the most difficult parts of working on the UI. We obviously got something like that working for the Constellation demo. That took a lot of effort. One of the hardest things is converting it from a system that assumes that you're always the player and you're piloting a ship to something that knows where you are and what HUD you need to display, and it also being able to see everyone else's. One thing we're working on figuring out is how we're going to know whose HUD you need to be able to see and whose you don't, and with how much detail, so that we can show you your squad mates' HUDs on nearby displays, but not send you the network traffic of everyone in a star system.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's interesting. So how do you solve that issue?
We haven't figured that out yet. But we will. We'll get that.
Getting close?
We better.
Okay. Next question comes from Rising Death. Can you explain a bit on how the UI gets from design to functional in-game? Who decides to make it wobble on impact? Who implements the booting animation when spawned? Are you testing it just on static screens? Are you developing it for the Oculus Rift to start?
The first thing I've got to say is I have to give a shout out to Behavior, and especially Martin Poirier. He implemented especially the framework on which our UI runs. That's a very useful system that's divided up into different screens and contexts, and components in those contexts. So that was a huge part of getting it to where it is. But as far as the specific screens and stuff, mostly we come up first, a designer probably, will come up with the idea of what we need, what we want to display. And that'll go to Zane, and Zane will make just a 2D concept in Illustrator, and that'll get feedback from Chris Roberts and other people, and then we'll come back and he'll turn that Illustrator concept into a bunch of different Flash objects, and at that point we'll break down the functionality of each display, and we'll figure out what dock items we want to divide it into and what dock fields those dock items should have, and those are the actual functional components. So once we figured that out, I'll start implementing the items and fields while he goes over and creates their display functionality. We can work on those in parallel, and once we've both got our sections done, we just sort of plug it together and it all works, hopefully.
What's necessary to be shown, does that differ from ship to ship, or is there like a common baseline?
Right now we're sort of working on like a single HUD, as you've seen, but in 1.0 we should see a specialized HUD for the Aurora that'll still have all of the same screens that the other ones have, but displayed in a new way. In the future, different ships will probably have different modes for displaying things. Like a mining ship is going to have a mining view, while a capital ship is going to have all kinds of different screens that you wouldn't need in single-seat fighter. There'll be some differences between ships, but we're trying to keep core concepts the same.
So that special Aurora UI, would then you take that concept and try and extrapolate it to other ships? Is the Aurora just like the test pilot right now?
Yeah, it's the test pilot for the whole system.
Yeah.
What we're calling diegetic displays. Diegetic meaning within the game world.
Mm-hmm.
So the Aurora's always had those two panels that are just sort of right here.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've done is we've broken up the visor panels that have always been in this general area and put them onto the displays.
Oh, cool.
And we've also added some new functionality to some of those displays to fit the new form factor. Like we've added now the ability to control your missiles from your HUD, but that doesn't all fit on the weapons screen on the Aurora display. So we've also implemented a tabbing feature that takes you between your guns and your missiles on the weapon display.
Interesting. I'm excited to see how that looks.
It's gonna be good.
If you don't say so yourself.
I do.
Well done. Next question comes from Lord of Garnix. How close are the existing UIs to how you expect the UIs to be in the final game?
It's kind of hard to say. We haven't really designed out the particulars of all the different manufacturers and stuff like that. I think functionality-wise, we're still pretty far from what we want it to do. We want to have a lot more control over different ship systems. 1.0 definitely brings us a lot closer to what we want with the addition of missile controls and more control over shields and power. But other than that, I think there's still a long way to go, and it's going to get a lot better.
Okay, cool. Thank you. The last question comes from 83 Magnum. What has been the most challenging function or information to implement into the UI so far?
The hardest thing I've done in recent memory is actually the getting the whole missile organization system together. Because previously, I mean, you had your missiles, they were all in a row. We really only had one kind, and you just pressed a button and armed a missile. And we took that and we turned it into a system where you can take your missiles are all divided up into their different types. They're displayed by signature that they track and divided into different missile types. You have to be able to rearrange those however you want and get them to play nicely with the existing missile system. And then Mark has also had to come in and help by changing things on the missile system side so that we can interface properly. So that took a pretty good amount of time to get it all working.
How long? Just curious.
I think it took me like 2 weeks working on that system.
Is that just you?
No, it was this included
You're like, no, I'm not that good.
Zane, Calix, and I talking out how we wanted to display it, having Zane come up with the look of it, having me program the functionality, having Mark implement functionality on the missile side. So it's also, a big collaborative effort.
So it's a team effort.
I mean, I guess you could say that.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
And we look forward to seeing how the UI is going to change in 1.0.
Yep.
All right, back to you guys.
Thank you, James. Another interesting interview.
That's it for today's show. Next week, we will have a little bit of a surprise.
That's right. The Star Citizen team is going on holiday starting next week. It's some well-deserved time off for everybody, but we are not forgetting our backers. We're going to have content at the website every single day, and while there will not be an ATV or an RTV next week, we will have a little surprise video for you. Of course, we'd like to say happy holidays to everybody out there. We have had an amazing year here at Cloud Imperium, and we look forward to showing you even cooler stuff next year.
Why so serious?
That's dramatic,
Yeah,
Ben.
that's very serious.
I'm an actor.
For the bloopers reel that we're going to have, it's very serious. ATV will return fully on January 8th, so we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you to all the subscribers for making this happen. Thank you to all our new fans and everybody for this whole year, basically.
It's been amazing for both of us. I don't think either of us ever thought we'd be doing anything like this.
No, I didn't think I'd still be here. It's like 2 years now.
Well,
more than 2 years. Let's make it another good year next year and for years to come.
Let's leave you guys off with an art sneak peek. Happy holidays, everybody.
We will see you in 2945 on
Around the Verse.